Welcome to another episode of Coaching Football with Brian Klee. Thanks for tuning into what is actually the first episode of Coaching Football with myself, Brian Klee. Very nervous and anxious because I've thought about putting together a football coaching YouTube channel for probably about 2 years, and finally built up the confidence to say, let's do it. Thanks to colleagues on CoachUI.com that I learned so much about football over the past 10 years. Thanks to some other YouTube football coaches who have channels out there that do a great job sharing information. Coach Thomas MacPherson with Play Fast Football, and Coach Nate Albaugh with Film Fridays, and now Cheifpigskin. They both showed, I guess, what a coaching YouTube channel should maybe look like, and I'm sure there's many more that are out there, and look forward to meeting some of them. But I guess I've decided that this is my chance to give back to the coaching profession that's given me so much. That's given me the opportunity to work with so many outstanding coaches and coach so many players. And I think the reason you coach as you get into coaching for an extended amount of time is you understand the impact you make with young student athletes, how important teaching them life lessons as they're growing into young men actually becomes. And I guess the goal of this channel is to help other coaches, and especially probably younger coaches, understand everything that comes into play when you're teaching young men the game of football. That it isn't about the offense that you're running or the play you're calling or the defense or the front or the scheme. It's much more about making the game simple at the high school level, so that way kids can play it really, really fast, and you can build that trust and that relationship with them because there's somebody who you're somebody that they look to as being really confident and very adept at what they're doing. Little background about me. I've been coaching for 17 years now. For the past 5 years, I've worked at Coloma High School with a head coach by the name of Joe Stevens. Him and I, over the past 5 years, have done our best to turn the struggling program around a little bit. And one of the things that has really catapulted us is our ability to play defense against the tee. The full house tee, it's something that I've never found on YouTube how to defend it. And tee coaches would say, well, it's because you can't. And obviously that's not true. In the end, the perfect offense, I think, all things are equal, offense is a little bit ahead of defense, but you can definitely do things defensively to disrupt an offensive scheme. So in this first episode, I think it's really important as a defensive coordinator to understand what the offense is trying to do, understand the blocking scheme, and how to disrupt that blocking scheme. So the first episode is going to focus primarily on the plays and give it like a playbook overview of what the full house tee looks like. For anyone who's a defensive coordinator, look forward to future episodes where I really dive into disrupting the play with good, sound, fundamental defensive football. And in this episode, if you're an offensive coordinator, it does a really good job showing serious conflict that is very challenging for defenses, and again, especially high school kids, to defend. So sit back, enjoy. Hopefully you're entertained and educated. In this episode, it's going to be focused on what the full house tee is, what it's trying to accomplish, just a little bit of background about it. Full house tee, it's also known as the power tee, Bay City tee, Michigan tee, thanks to Irv Ziegler. He coached at Olivet College at the Division III level for several years, and very successful coach, and probably responsible for the offense being quite popular here in the state of Michigan. It regularly sees very good success deep into the MHSA playoffs, a little bit more so at the smaller school divisions, but nearby us, Edwardsburg High School, in 2018. I believe they were the Division IV state champs. 2 years prior to that, they played a very competitive state semifinal game against Muskegon at the Division III level. It's a very physical offense that focuses on running the ball, relies on great execution by the offensive line, as any good offense does, and very deceptive with multiple fakes by numerous ball carriers in the backfield on just about every play. The difference to me and to most full house T coaches between the wing T versus full house T is obviously the wing T formation, what most offensive coaches will call either 100 formation or right formation, and the mirror would be left, or 900, I believe. It features a definite strong side, or at least longer edge with the tight end and wing, and then the open or split end side. Meanwhile, the full house T is perfectly balanced. Obviously, they'll have many times one of the halfbacks will be a little stronger runner than the other. One side of the offensive line or a tight end might be their preferred place to run the ball, but they try to be much more balanced both with their formation and who is carrying the ball and how much they're carrying the ball. As I said before, the foul house T, it's got multiple fakes on just about every play. There are usually at least 3 fakes. They'll start off, they try to establish the fullback trap in the A gaps. They'll attack off tackle, preferably in C gap, with their halfback on powers, and then the quarterback will keep either sometimes tighter in like D gap right off the tight end, or really wide outside of the entire defense. And then lastly, they'll run counters, which power and counter me. At the point of attack, it's the same play. Usually they got a guard pulling to the point of attack, so they're very, very similar if the defense picks up certain keys. The numbers don't lie. My first 2 years here at Coloma, we struggled against full house T. We struggled a little bit with just defense in general. Like I said, I've been the defensive coordinator for 5 years. The year prior to that, I was the JV coach in the program, and they had I believe, at least 3 or 4 one-win seasons in a row coming into that year. And the place where they struggled the most, and we struggled the most early on, was on the defensive side. It included a very embarrassing 68 points and 9 touchdowns allowed to a very well-coached team and program, Constantine High School. Speaking of state titles, running this offense, I believe somewhere in the early to mid-2000s. I know they won a state title, and I believe they were running the full house T at that time. And they took us to us in 2016. Like I said, 9 touchdowns, 7 off trap. That play still gives me nightmares. Then they scored on a power and a keep. Going into the 2017 season, we knew we had to make some changes, in our biggest focus, just because we see the full house T at least 2 or 3 times in a given season, our biggest focus was how to try to close that distance on specifically that offense, because if we could do that, we thought everything else would kind of take care of itself on defense. So made a schematic change, and then just more importantly, coach defense better. We're better at just the overall install of the defense. Filmed much more of practice to get prepared. Coached just better overall eye discipline and appropriate reactions and technique based off of the reads that our guys are seeing. And like I said, we used to really struggle on defense, and now we're respectable. Definitely room for improvement, but we are not completely shooting ourselves in the foot on defense. And I think the best part of all is we went from giving up 68 points one year to the next year shutting out that same opponent and at least forcing them to try to hold us accountable with a few other plays besides their base plays. This play to me is what really makes the full house tee the full house tee. It makes it unique. In the end, you're going to see trap and power and counter and kind of keep / sprint passes and boot passes, and those plays are the same, I think, in any offense. The difference is that the tee wants to establish the trap, the power, and then the quarterback either follows or keeps, to really force the defense to be very, very disciplined, and to find the weak spot in the defense and really control the game with a power running attitude. And they're going to get trapped to go a couple different ways. The goal is obviously you're threatening the middle of the defense in the A or B gap, and they'll trap everything from a 3 technique to a 2-eye at times, out to a 5, and I've seen them trap 6 techniques a few times on film. So premise of the play, kind of trap play, always relies on some sort of away block, or when there's a nose, a 0 technique, an on block by the center. The backside guard is going to pull and trap, like I said, the first thing on the guard or wider, something from a 2-eye to a 5 typically. And then they're trying to build a wall of down blocks. Everything that is inside there, they're trying to get down blocks with the guard and get that wall, start to build it. The tackles getting up to the linebacker levels. The tight ends do a great job of trying to get their tight ends downfield to get safeties blocked up, which, I mean, that safety has to respect that as possibly a pass release. And then meanwhile, there's a bunch of fakes getting the defense to try and move horizontally to the outside when the offense is planning on really blocking typically three guys, and they're at least going to be picking up a first down, if not getting deeper. Here's a play, trap play against a 5-3 odd front. They do not hesitate to try and trap 3-0-3 if they've got that 3 technique moving vertically. If that 3 technique is not disciplined, they'll make it pop. They'll find a way to get it to go. And here they are against a 6-2, and like I said, they'll go. It doesn't happen often, but every once in a while they'll try to arc block a 2-eye and make trap go. And again, I think that's what's different about the full house tee compared to some other offenses that utilize the trap is they're going to find a way to make their trap play work against any front they have. Complementing the trap, and really the bread and butter of most tee teams, is the C-gap off-tackle power. Most tee teams that we've seen will put their bigger, stronger kids at the halfback positions, and they'll be the lead blockers kicking out at the point of attack. They'll sometimes get away with a rather smaller, I guess, fullback, but one that's very, very quick and very disciplined with his fakes. You'll see that on film in an upcoming video of how deceptive their fakes are with getting 2 hands over the ball and all that. And power, in the end, is power. The difference is that fullback on the trap fake is holding some of the defense accountable. So power, like I said, now they're double teaming that guy that they were trapping, so that creates a conflict for that guy. He's got to be disciplined with what block he's getting in front of him. Is he getting double teamed? Yeah, we want penetration against double teams if we're a defensive coach. Offense doesn't want to allow that penetration. If penetration's happening, they go back to the trap play, because that guy made himself very trappable if he's, again, not keying what's going on in front of him. They get a kick out most of the time. They'll block the power up, like most teams block power up, multiple variety of ways to make sure their favorite play in most cases is going. Guards wrapping, looking for a tunnel block or a wrap block, a lead block up onto the linebacker level, and then they're again trying to get a good wall of down blocks, cut off any penetration or pursuit. Real quick, the 5-3 front, again, they're going to probably kick out. I've seen them kick something as tight as a 5, if that 5 is really, really undisciplined. But typically they like a 6 or wider. And then here it is against a 6-2. After the trap and power plays set up, get the defense to suck inside, it sets up the outside run play, which is done by the quarterback. So trap fake, power fake, they pick up another lead blocker because of all those fakes, and then the quarterback is either going to keep 2 hands on it and no one's going to know he has it, or he's going to tuck it on his back hip and he's going to try and circle the entire defense. Once again, they'll block it a variety of ways. Sometimes they'll rely on a on block on the guy that was normally the kick out, and the halfback will go just a little bit wider. Other times they'll rely on that halfback to get a log and count on the down block of the tight end to influence the 6 or 9 technique to step inside, which makes that log block potentially really easy. And then the rest of that, I mean, it looks like power, except for the guard. Once he gets past the other guard, will gain a little bit of depth, and he's looking to get the outside shoulder of the corner. And I mean, they'll call that play obviously because the 6 technique or off the linebacker, he's going to be filling in D gap off that tight end's down block, and that's giving them the edge. But what really makes that play devastating, like that'll give them first downs. This right here turns it into touchdowns when the corner or whoever the widest defender takes a quick little peek inside, just a hesitation at that power fake for a second, and the quarterback keeps it outside. And no one knows he has it some of the time. Still, he's in the end zone. Again, both of these are against the odd and even fronts here. They're relying on the influence down block of the tight end, and then getting a log block out of who was the kick out block, double team, the 5 technique, and again log block, and then that guard is pulling wide while you got the trap fake, the power fake. Counter then takes advantage of defenses that will either key backs or over pursue to stop the first 3 fakes. Like I said, point of attack, things look very similar to power. They'll have a kick out. Now it's going to be the guard, and then a wrap. Most teams we see will wrap the tight end, and I think that's maybe because it lets them make sure that the backside 4 or 3 technique, the tackle can get him cut off a little bit better, I think. And with that trap fake, that's getting the defense to suck inside, especially the inside linebackers if they get a ton of fullback trap. The power fake is going to make sure that they get a kick out on the guy over the tight end to make sure the tight end doesn't get hip pocketed. And then the backside, the backside halfback going to take a jab step out, like he's going to maybe lead on a power or get out wide to try and log that end on play side run. The quarterback, after dealing the cards, as we say, fakes the trap, fakes the power, sits there and just lets the counterback come, and he's looking for the first opening in the D to C gap area. Once again, give you the looks of a 6-2 and a 5-3, and typically how they try to get those blocked up. After all of that running, and I mean they'll have a 50 play game, and they're going to throw the ball 2 times, and when you got undisciplined secondary that's really trying to support that keep play or spilled power or something like that, the secondary will step up and they'll throw the ball 2 times for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. The keep pass that they run, it's going to continue to be that full flow, that trap fake, that power fake, and the quarterback putting on his hip and getting deep, trying to initially circle the defense. But then as the plays open up, he's going to look for the flag route, really. I mean, when they're calling it, they're either throwing a flag
slash post corner to the tight end, or getting a flag post corner type route to the halfback. It just kind of depends on the quarterback's arm to some extent, and who those players are. If the tight end's better, they're going to throw to him. When the halfbacks are better athletes, which they are most of the time, they'll run, they'll switch up the routes and put the halfback deep, other route in the flats, and then sometimes they drag. What happens most of the time, they really want to get that deep shot to the flag, so the backside tight end will actually stay in pass block, because they don't really have a great way to protect the edge against a 9 technique there, because the fullback fake again is in the A-gap area. And then the last base play that the T teams utilize is a boot pass. It definitely ends up looking just a little bit different to the kids with what's going on, just because now the guard, it's actually the front side guard to where the quarterback's going. The front side guard is going to be the person responsible for logging, who is typically the kick out on a power or a counter. And then the flow initially will start off the wrong way. So a lot of defenders, again, especially if they are only seeing the backfield, they're gonna run the wrong way. They're gonna at least take 2 steps the wrong way before they redirect. And then the boot pass gets that triangle of something in the flats, something deep, and then the drag route. And what is really devastating potentially is the halfback that normally comes and leads block. All the guys step towards the power fake first, and then they see the flow of receivers and the guard and the quarterback. They'll start to work back towards the boot, and then they'll have the throwback post open. So something that forces a ton of discipline out of all levels of the defense ends up being that boot pass. Hope you gained something from this first video. Going to get to some film in the second one. Once again, thanks for tuning in. This is Brian Klee. Hope you've learned a bunch about the T offense and what makes it potentially extremely challenging to defend.
As always, guys, if you have questions or comments, please leave them down below. I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Check me out and follow me on Twitter at Coach Klee. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you like what you see. And if you have anything that maybe requires a longer response, hit me up at coachbrienklee@gmail.com. Thanks as always for tuning in. See you again.